And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
I want to say peace and blessings to those that are up super late tonight. And of course, this is an unscheduled live that I want to do tonight based off the movie The Deliverance. And I really want to use that as opportunity to discuss it. Yes, I'm going to give my review of the movie, and then we're going to really address an issue that many within our community don't address or try not to address or just simply don't know how to address, especially when we start dealing with those that believe in the Most High, those that believe in His Son Christ. And we're really going to cover a few things because it's real. I just want to make that clear. It's real out here, family. So let's go ahead and get into it. I don't want to prolong, don't want to give a lengthy synopsis overview of what we want to discuss. Pretty straightforward, the deliverance. So let's go ahead and get into it, family. Let's get into it. Let me go ahead and stretch this out here. And we're just going to get right into it. All right. And I hope and pray that this blesses you. And for me, I like to use situations, whether it's a movie, whether it's something that's going on around us, as an opportunity to teach. There's a teachable moment in everything that's around us. A teachable moment. So if you're going through a situation and you just don't understand, whether death in the family, loss of employment, financial issues, whatever the case may be, ask the Most High, what is it that you're not getting? What is it that you're not getting? What is it what message, what lesson is it that He's trying to get you to understand? Or whom is it, whomever it may be, that He may want to use you to give an encouraging word to, or receive an encouraging word from. But nevertheless, the deliverance. Let's go ahead and just unpack this, right? This is a Netflix movie that just came out a couple of days ago. And this entire movie is about the exorcisms of Latoya Ammons. So this is based off of a true story, family. It's based off of a true story. And I want to make this clear. When you start thinking about someone being demonic possessed, let's remove the imagery that we see in Hollywood. Like the examples you see is someone going to have some green goop coming out of their mouth, their head going to be spinning around, voice get real deep. That's not necessarily the case. Someone being demonically possessed, most cases look normal. They look like the everyday Joe Blow. So I want to put that out there. I want to make sure you guys understand this. But let's go to get into it. The exorcism of Latoya Ammons. And family, this is based off of a true story. And I researched it, and many of the things that you saw in the movie was true. So the exorcism of Latoya Ammons. So Latoya talks about the demons that tormented her and her children on September 3rd, 2013. And we coming up on another anniversary of this situation of her actually sharing her story. Another fact, Austin, a 36-year veteran of the Gary Police Department, said he initially thought Indianapolis resident Latoya Ammons and her family concocted an elaborate tale as a way to make money. But after several visits to their home and interviews with witnesses, Austin said simply, "I am a believer." So this is someone from the police department. And I researched this. I couldn't put everything in here because I didn't want to really focus too much on this. But you have another police officer that had gone out there, and all of a sudden he put new batteries in to record what was going on out there, and all of a sudden brand new batteries was completely drained. One of the other officers were able to record and heard sounds, heard whisperings, a number of things that's recorded. DCS recorded this whole, this is in their files. So this is based off of a true story. So again, Austin, a 36-year veteran of the Gary Police Department, said he initially thought Indianapolis resident Latoya Ammons and her family concocted an elaborate tale as a way to make money. But after several visits to their home and interviews with witnesses, Austin said simply, "I am a believer." So this is the grandmother. This is the grandmother. And this is one of the problems I had with the movie. This is the actual grandmother. Let me say that again. This is the actual grandmother. And these are words. These are part of the testimony of the actual grandmother versus what you see in this movie. So after midnight, Campbell and Ammons both said they occasionally heard the steady clumps of footsteps climbing the basement stairs and the creak of the door opening between the basement and the kitchen. No one was there. Now I can tell you straight up, I can't speak for you, but I know growing up, I know the house that my grandmother had at one time on a place called Gray Street in Newark. I remember having testimonies. Me and my brothers and cousins saw things that was not the norm. For example, the old doorbells with the pipes that hangs down, like the chimes or whatever that hangs down. ran by it was electricity driven, but the wires were pulled out. The wire, it didn't work, was not plugged up, but the wires were cut. But yet we heard the doorbell ring a number of times. Remember hearing bumps. And also I remember when we lived in the building that we lived in as kids, I remember at one time my mother was into playing with the Ouija board. And I remember we started hearing banging at the door. My mother threw that Ouija board out the window. I never forget, we were kids, you know, I want to say around 7, 8 years old, threw that Ouija board out the window. And guess what? We were homeless for almost a month. We slept in the hallways for almost a month in the hallways. I'm literally pillows, blankets in the hallway. We were homeless for a month. A young mother with 4 kids, 4 boys at that time. And at that time, my mother had to be, I want to say, my mother had to be about 23, 24 years old at that time. So it's real, family. And I want to say this to those that are watching, and I'm not saying this as a joke or anything like that, but it's real. We have demonic forces operating all around us. They're after your family, they're after your children. Demonic forces are real. It's demonic forces that drove a certain group of people, a particular group of people, to rob, steal, take an identity that was never theirs. Demonic forces are real, family. I'm going to say that again. The delusion is the time that we live in, and many don't believe in it. Do you know there's so many hip hop artists that's worshiping Satan, participating in the Luciferian doctrine? So many. Jay-Z, those guys are devil worshipers. So it is real. So let me continue here. So after midnight, Campbell and Ammons both said they occasionally heard the steady clumps of footsteps climbing the basement stairs and the creak of the door opening between the basement and the kitchen. No one was there. And one other thing I want to add, the house that we were in had the old radiators, those metal radiators that had the steam come out of it. I remember clear as day. The radiator was not even connected to anything, no pipes, no nothing, and steam coming out of the radiator. I mean, we were scared as kids. We witnessed some stuff. And I'm sure many of you guys, if you think back, you witnessed some stuff. You probably heard bumps in your house and don't even know what it is or where it's coming from. You just never know. You come home, pictures out of order. But anyway. So one thing that I had a bone to pick about the movie is starting with how they whitewashed the grandmother. Again, let me see. Going back here, this is the grandmother. This is the actual grandmother. And I understand Hollywood does things to, try to push or draw attention to the movie by having certain actors and their reputation. But this is, to me, this is a slap in the face to the family. I understand bringing attention to a situation. This is a slap to this grandmother who was a praying grandmother when you really understand the facts. Her grandmother was not a Caucasian woman. Her grandmother was the one that really stood in the gap for her daughter and her grandchildren. Let me say that again. She was a praying grandmother. And I did not like the fact that she was whitewashed. Making it clear, she was whitewashed. So again, whitewash the grandmother. Another bone to pick that I had with the movie. So, and we'll get there in a second here. So Rosa Campbell stands with her Bible at her Indianapolis home on August 23rd, 2013. She often reads the Bible to combat the demons possessing her grandchildren and her daughter. It wasn't just her children, it was her granddaughter. As far as her grandchildren, it was also her daughter. But again, I did not like how the grandmother was portrayed inside this movie. I did not like the fact that they whitewashed her, but they really portrayed her in a contradictory fashion. I'm not going to get into all the details, but I encourage you guys, do your research. When I see certain movies like this come out, I immediately do my research and find out what's what's truthful about the situation and what's not. What are the facts and what are things that they just added into the storyline to try to spice it up, so to speak. So the other thing I didn't like about this movie was the emasculation of the men, starting with the ministers. Now, I want to make this clear. I have no issue with a woman giving the word. I want to make that clear. Because guess what? The first person that preached about Christ was a woman by the name of Hannah. Look it up, family. Look it up in the scriptures. Look it up in the scriptures. Luke chapter 2. She preached. She preached out of the temple in Jerusalem. She preached. I'm going to say that again. She preached. So I want to be clear. The Most High can use any one of us to give a word. But what I didn't like about this movie is that it really emasculated the men. The movie opened up. You saw a woman preach in the beginning. A woman preacher giving the word. And that's a whole nother discussion, getting into pastors and all those things. I'm not getting into all of that, but I'm focusing on preaching the word. Let's focus on preaching. Every last one of us can preach the word. But the question is pastoring. That's a whole nother discussion. But every last one of us can preach the word. So I want to make sure you guys understand that point that I'm making. But the other thing, so again, she was the preacher that you saw at the beginning of the movie, that of the church that you saw the grandmother sitting in. But then you saw this preacher right here. You saw this preacher that, led the way on the exorcism. No men. Now, here's facts about this. This is where I'm going at with this. Here's the facts. Let me give you the facts. This is the person that actually performed the exorcist. Whether you agree or disagree with Catholicism, whether you agree or disagree with Christianity, but this was the man that actually performed the exorcist. Let me say that again. This is the actual man that performed the exorcist. He was a Catholic a Catholic minister, a Catholic preacher. Go by the name of Father Mike Maganot, who performed an exorcism in Stephen Martyr Church in Murrayville. Latoya sat in his chair, and Father Mike used this rite, which he printed from the internet. So this man right here actually performed the exorcist. But for the sake, I guess, of trying to juice up the movie, and then also when we start understanding the producer himself, Lee Daniels, you guys already know how he rolled. You guys already know how Lee Daniels rolled. So it's no coincidence that he emasculated the men, starting with the Negroes, but then also this Catholic preacher, this Catholic person was the one that actually performed the exorcism over her family. Come on. Up next, let's not take the discussion there, because we could get into Cornelius. This is the Most High. Even when we read the scriptures of pouring out his spirit, He didn't just say to the Israelites. Let's not take it to that conversation. When you have an issue with your car, right, and you call a police officer, and that police officer shows up, and that police officer is a Caucasian, do you tell that Caucasian police officer, no, you don't have authority over me? No, let's not take it there. The Most High can use anyone that He chooses to use. Now, far as getting into the religion, I'm with you. I don't agree with the religion. I don't agree with Catholicism. I don't agree with Christianity, but I believe that the Most High can use anyone He chooses to deliver His people when they're dealing with a situation, just like Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar was he was from Babylon, but the Most High used Nebuchadnezzar. So I just want to make sure we keep the conversation here. No offense to you, and I'm not trying to disrespect anyone here, but I just want to keep it here. Okay, you're speaking on religion. I got you. I thought you were speaking on this type of situation. So we're good. We're good. Really appreciate you. All right. So again, family, that's why I want to make it clear. I'm not here promoting a religion. I'm not promoting Catholicism. I'm not promoting Christianity. I'm not promoting Judaism. I'm not promoting Islam. I'm not promoting any of those religions. I'm promoting our identity. I'm promoting salvation. I'm promoting deliverance. I'm promoting the Father. I'm promoting His Son, and also the Spirit of Yah, which is the Holy Spirit. So I want to make that clear. And I'm not referring to the Trinity. The Father, which also goes by the name or the label, the Spirit of Yah, and His Son. That's what I'm promoting here. Hallelujah. No religion over here. I'm not promoting the so-called Abrahamic religion. So again, this is the Catholic priest that performed the exorcism on the daughter and grandchildren. All right. So again, I pointed out the emasculation of the men. This was another thing that stood out, right? The daughter, 3 children, no man in the picture. No man in the picture. But one thing that stood out is this right here. This right here. You have they whitewashed the grandmother. Then you have Omar Epps working in a hospital. You see this the grandmother, right, walking up to get, I guess it was dialysis or cancer treatment, whatever. And you see the young guys, the brother men, sitting on the bench trying to holler at her. And then when she goes inside the clinic to give, I guess, the whatever dialysis, it looked like she was on dialysis, and he makes a pass at her. And of course, the sisters were sitting on the side. They didn't like what they saw. But this is the thing that, that really, I was like, wow, you don't see the only man that you really see that's in the picture here is Omar Epps, excuse me. And he, as you could see, she's like, grandma here. But you see Omar Epps, and again, having a relationship with, this woman. Now, I want to make it clear. I'm going to make it clear. I know this may rub some of you guys a certain way, but I believe, according to Scripture, because the Scripture promotes it, that Israel is supposed to marry Israelites, deal with Israelites. Israel also, yes, the Most High allowed Israel to marry other nations, but the key, right? He made it clear for Israelites not to marry certain people groups. That's where I'm at with it. For me, it's the imagery of the young guys or the Negroes going after other cultures, other communities, and not dating our own sister. And then the sister that you do see, right? She has what issues, with children. And then you saw a what I thought was a sister was a guy that was a homosexual. I didn't put it in here. All right. So I want to make this clear, family. It was all over the place. It was all over the place, family. So I want to make sure anyone that may may get offended by what I say, guess what? I have my preference. Guess what? I stay always dated within my community. And guess what? I marry someone from within my community. All right. So you make whatever decisions for your household, but that's how I roll with me, based upon knowing my history, knowing the history of others that have enslaved our community. So guess what? I'm not rolling with anyone that have what caused hardship with our community. So again, Moses' situation when he married the Ethiopian woman, it wasn't because Moses was a Caucasian. No, Moses was a Negro. Moses was a dark melanated Negro. But the issue was not based on skin complexion. The issue was based on cultural differences, the concerns of Aaron and Miriam. So I want to make sure I'll put that disclaimer out there. But this didn't sit well with me on how they portrayed the only image that you really saw of the men. And you saw three men, two sitting on a bench, and then also Omar Epps here. And you saw how all three of them was trying to get with this lady right here. Anyway, so those are some of the things that didn't sit well with me about the movie. You had a priest, a man who actually performed the exorcism, and they made that person a woman. So those are some of the issues that I have, is that they emasculated the men. All right. So I want to make sure I make that clear with you guys. Now, again, some of you guys may agree, some of you guys may disagree, but I'm just going off of the word. I'm going off of the scriptures. Most High told Israel not to marry the Canaanites. Canaanites were dark melanated people as well, but it wasn't because of how can I put it, skin complexion. It was all about the culture. The culture that they were into was contrary to the culture of the Israelites. Want to make that clear. Human sacrifices, all kinds of things. And some of in 6 other tribes that was occupying Canaan, the promised land. So I want to make sure you guys understand this. So again, those are some of the gripes that I have with the movie. I thought overall, just the storyline and just the overall quality of the movie is, I just want to be clear. It wasn't a bad movie. The production was good, but these were some of the gripes that I had with the movie. It kind of reminded me of Tyler Perry and how he his portrayal of the Negro men. I didn't like that. It just didn't sit well with me. But far as the quality of the movie, addressing key situations, because when you study the main characters as well as the mother in the movie, you saw depression. Depression from the grandmother, depression from the daughter. You saw that they were dealing with a depressed household. They moved into a place that already had a history of demonic behavior. And when I did the research on this situation, the landlord of that house, the owner of that house, stated that there was some demonic things that was going on that property, but he still rented it out. Okay. So again, for me, I highlighted the things that didn't sit well with me, emasculating the men. That didn't sit well with me. Whitewashing the grandmother. That didn't sit well with me. So I just want to make it clear. That didn't sit well with me. But the bigger discussion for me about the whole movie, it should have triggered conversations. It should have triggered conversations such as, are demonic possessions real? Are demonic possessions real? Are they real? And I want to make sure we understand this. It is important to remember that not all mental problems are demonic, stem from demons. And I want to put something here. Let me see if I could put it in here, because it's a couple of points I want to make. Bear with me 1 second. And I'm not going to go into the examples, but I just want to put an additional thought here that led up to this here. All right, let me copy and let me paste this here. And let me clean up. All right. I'm just fixing the slide here. All right. There we go. All right. Just want to add a key point here that I want to make here. All right. All right. Let me rewind it a little bit. I want to start off by dealing with just touching on depression real quick. Because when you read the scriptures and when you really study the text, you'll see that King David dealt with a bout of depression. You'll see that, for example, Elijah dealt with depression. You'll see it referred to as the spirit of heaviness. Israel as a whole was dealing with a spirit of heaviness. And you see that being addressed in Isaiah. And we can say today that our community is dealing with a spirit of heaviness, because regardless of all the different communities that are out there, we are the most depressed community. We were raped. We were sold. We were enslaved by every community that is out here, and every country that has the institution of race implemented. We are at the low end of the totem pole. So we are the most depressed community because we don't know who we are. We don't, most of us don't know who we are. And the system is strategically have things in place to keep us in a depressed state. Now, depression, can open up doors to demons. So the question I have here, what opens the doors to depression? Well, this is what can open up the doors to depression. Circumstances can open the doors of depression. Like when we look at the situation from the movie perspective, you have a daughter who is separated, trying to raise 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. She had issues with her mother. Of course, in the movie, made it out to be her mother was an abusive woman. She was subjected to abuse by her mother, and some of those behaviors seem to pass down. So she drank a lot because of the depression, because again, circumstances can open doors of depression, whether it's broken relationships, death, loss of employment, financial issues, health. So one of the obvious causes or triggers of depression is negative circumstances or bad news. So when we think about Tobit, when we think about Sarah, because I'm going to use them as an example of 2 people who was dealing with depression, but they also, I'm going to prove to you that they were also dealing with demons. And I'm going to show you guys that when you start when you start understanding demonic forces, it's all in Torah. It's all in the scriptures. We see it from the very beginning when Hasatan tempting Eve. That's demonic forces. So again, let me rewind it a little bit. One of the obvious causes of or triggers of depression is negative circumstances or bad news. Some people may reflect over their life, their lives, and see that they did not accomplish certain things they set out to accomplish, whether it's education, whether it's just your outlook on life. You may say that, hey, you want to be married, by a certain age, and you're not married at that age. You want to have children, but you're not having children. You want to live a certain way, but you're not living that way. You want to be promoted. A number of things can trigger depression. Your environment, because you have demonic spirits, territorial spirits. So you can also say you have territorial depression. And I hope this helps you guys, anyone that's dealing with depression. All right. So one of the obvious causes or triggers of depression is negative circumstances or bad news. Family, sometimes you just got to cut certain people off or distance yourself, love them from afar. Certain people that, whenever you see them, all they have to give you is bad news. So Tobit and Sarah, like Tobit and Sarah, many of us are living with a spirit of heaviness because of negative circumstances, because the scriptures make it clear that they both were dealing with the spirit of heaviness. So illnesses also open the doors of depression. Excuse me for the typo here. Let me fix it here. Let me correct this here while we're here going through this. All right. I just, while I'm here, I might as well correct this slide. All right. So again, illness also opens the doors of depression. And family, this is why it's important as you get older, starting while you're young, to eat healthy, because your diet can trigger depression. Medications can trigger depression because there's certain medicines that can cause the side effects are documented to cause depression. That's why if your doctor trying to prescribe you medicine, make sure you read the side effects before you just take medicines. And as you get older, guess what? Especially when you turn 50, get over 50 and older, more and more they try to what? In this country, try to get you on a regimen of medicine. Slowly but surely, they may start off by saying, hey, we noticed that your blood pressure went up. But they won't tell you that as you get older, after you get a certain age, your blood pressure goes up naturally. But dieting it makes a world of a difference. If some of you guys have a issue with eating and you eat late and then you go to bed, it could cause depression. It could cause nightmares. That's proven psychologically. So change your diet, family. Change your diet. That can make a world of a difference. Just how you eat can make a world of difference. The meats that you eat, the fruits that you eat or the lack of fruits, the vegetation or the lack of vegetation, the things that you drink. Start reading the ingredients of which, the things that you're purchasing. As for me and my house, guess what? We don't do the junk food thing. It's a lot of stuff out here that they just loading up. Matter of fact, I just had an allergic reaction a couple of days ago because some foods had soy in it. I was eating curry chicken and didn't know that they put soy in it, but I had an allergic reaction started Friday. I mean, I just had welts coming all over my body. I am allergic to soy. But that can cause depression if, to some of you guys, if you just all of a sudden have welts all over your body. But thank the Most High, it just lasted for a couple of days. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue, family. And again, we're a depressed community. We still haven't come out of oppression or depression because of how we have been oppressed and isolated by what is called the Arabic slave trade, the transatlantic world war. No, we could go right down the list. But anyway, let's continue. So physical or mental sickness can make you depressed. If you are physically sick for a prolonged time, sometimes that can bring on a spirit of depression. So again, I want to make this clear. Sometimes mental problems truly are the cause of a depressed person. Mental problems. You have some people that are truly dealing with mental issues. So again, it is important to remember that not all mental problems are demons. Let me say that again. Not all mental problems are demons. And we just highlighted some of the issues. Doesn't mean that it's demonic. But guess what? Depending on how you handle these situations, you can open up the door to allow demonic forces to enter in. All right. So are there any examples in the scriptures about dealing with demons, dealing with exorcists or exorcisms? Let's go to Acts chapter 19, starting at verse 13. I'm just going to read this to you, give you some examples here. It says here, then certain of the vagabond, Yahweh Yam, in other words, Judean or Judah, exorcists, took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits in the name Hasham of the Adonaiah Yahweh Shai, which transliterates to Lord Jesus. Now, I want to make this clear. I know, we have a number of people that tense up if they hear the word Jesus. Now, I want to make this clear because I'm still a pastor. But before we transition our ministry over to where we are, I can tell you emphatically that in the reputation, the bearer of the name, right? Because that name Jesus is just transliterations of transliterations. So the bearer of the name is what's important, because Yahweh Shah was a popular name among the ancient Israelites. And I say this again, Barabbas, which means Bar Abba, son of the father, his name was the exact same name as Hamashiach. Both of their names was Yahweh Shah. Both of them. But what separated the two? What's the distinction between the two? It's the bearer of the name. It's the one that's carrying the name. The reputation of the one that's carrying that name, because one was a murderer while the other was a restorer of life. That's the word. So I want to make that clear. So no one is going to tell me that I didn't cast out demons, because guess what? I have some of it on camera of a situation that occurred. I had pastors, literally pastors, who would bring their children to me and my wife after service, and we would lay hands on them and cast spirits out of them. So I want to make sure we understand this, right? Because sometimes we can really miss it. Many of us came out of Christianity or whatever other Abrahamic religions or faiths that you were in which Abraham didn't create, but we want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. See, I learned because I was in a deliverance ministry, and the pastor that I was up under, whole ministry was all about addressing demonic forces, all about addressing depression and things along that line. So I learned so much from that. So I want to make sure you guys understand this. So again, let's read this again. Then certain of the vagabond. Oh, one last thing I want to say for those that may say, hey, you know what? Use that as a reason. Say, hey, you know what? Jesus, he answered my prayers under the name Jesus. So I'm just going to just continue to use the name Jesus. I don't care about all the other names. Guess what? The Most High is no longer going to wink at your ignorance. We are living in an information day right now. So you have the means to find out what his true name is. Jesus is not a Hebrew name. Jesus is a name that is a transliteration of multiple transliterations. So I want to make it clear. So I'm not saying that if you say Jesus, you're going to hell. But guess what? The day and time we live in, you should be saying, at least making an assertive effort for someone who laid down their life for you, that you want to know what their real name is. Likewise with the Father. You shouldn't just be using God as the name of the Father. That's not his name. That's a generic English word that comes from German, a Germanic construct. So again, the Most High will wink at our ignorance, but we should be at a place in this information day that you should know the name of the Father. And if you don't want to say Yahweh, if you don't want to say, while others will say Yahuwah, if you don't want to say Yahweh, guess what? Everyone can agree that the short form of his name is Yah. The same, it has 3 letters, just like that God term. God, Yah, has the same amount of letters, 1 syllable, just like God. So if you could say God, you should be able to say Yah. If you're able to say Joshua, which Joshua had the same name as Christ, so Joshua was called, his name is Joshua. Why didn't they just put Joshua for the name, the transliterated name in the English for Jesus? I understand wanting to make a distinction between the two, but their names was exactly the same. Joshua, the ancient Hebrew, Yahawashah. Sounds like Yahashua, like how some of you guys would say, Yahawashah. All right. Anyway, let me get back to it. So then certain of the vagabond, Yahawadayam, in other words, Judean, exorcists took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits in the name of Adonai Yahweh Shai. In other words, it transliterates to Lord Jesus. Thought I heard something humming. Sorry about that, family. All right, which transliterates to the Lord Jesus, but Adonai, which transliterates to the word Lord, in some cases master, that's a whole nother discussion, but Adonai Yahweh Shai, saying, we adjure you by Yahweh Shai, whom Paul preaches. All right. Verse 14. And there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Yahweh died. In other words, Judah. This person was Judah, literally of the tribe of Judah, and chief of the priest, which did so. Verse 15. And the evil spirit answered and said, Yahweh Shai, in other words, Jesus, transliterates to the English word Jesus, but Yahweh Shai, I know. Paul, I know. But who are you? Who are ye? See, that's what Hasatan is doing right now, because so many people don't understand the importance of the spiritual realm, that when you do decide to pray when something happened, instead of having a consistent prayer life, instead of having a consistent reading of your scriptures, a consistent consistency in fasting, many want to wait till something happened, and then all of a sudden, when something happened at the height of a situation, Hasatan is looking at you like saying, hey, Christ I know, Others I know that's in this faith, but who are you? So the evil spirit answered and said, right? They trying to cast out demons, but this evil spirit said to them, said, Yahweh Shai, in other words, Christ I know, Paul I know, but who are ye? Verse 16, and the man in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them and overcame them and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded. See, the scriptures makes it clear for us to suddenly lay hands on no man. You're not supposed to be just all of it arbitrarily call yourself laying hands on people. I've seen this happen when I was a young minister in Church of God in Christ. We was at convocation, and there was someone that was sitting there that had a homosexual spirit on them. So this minister called himself, going up to that homosexual, put his hands on the guy, and believe it or not, that spirit jumped off that guy and jumped onto that person, the person that called themselves laying hands. Family, don't continue, if some of you are doing this, bad practices, bad teachings, especially when you start dealing with many of these Pentecostal churches. Kojic was good at doing that. The apostolic ministries are good at doing that. The holiness ministries are good at doing that. The scripture tells us lay our hands suddenly on no man. No man. All right. Roxy, matter of fact, I'm not even going to address this, because let's not put what regurgitated things that other people have said about Christ, the name Jesus. You're absolutely incorrect. So I'm going to post a link that actually walk you through how the name just went from Yahweh Shai to the English translations Yahashua. From Yahweh Shai, then you get to the short form Yasha or Yahshua, however you want to pronounce it, but some would say Yeshua. Then from there to the Greek transliteration, Jesus. I break that down, but let's not regurgitate poor information. That's not a pointing to Greek gods. Many would say because they see the Zeus portion of it, they'll say that's pointing to Zeus. But I want to make it clear that's not correct. So what I'll do is, before we wrap up, I'm going to drop the link inside the comment section, so that way you can review that lesson. Because again, I teach that lesson every so often, just to show, just to give a proper clarity, just so that way we're not regurgitating or teaching something that is not biblical. All right. So I'll drop the link at the conclusion of this lesson before we wrap up. So let me go ahead and continue here. Let me get this done here. So again, and the man in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them and overcame them and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded. And I want to say this to some of the single people, and you see this a lot with women getting into relationships. I call it evangelistic dating, thinking that because of your relationship with the Most High, you can cast out whatever strongholds. I hear this thing. Let me bear with me 1 second. Here we go. You can cast out whatever strongholds that a man is dealing with. No, that's something only the Father can truly do, in terms of having a man completely leave certain bad habits. Many get into a relationship, and the unfortunate thing is, many of them would get into a relationship, let's be real, call it what it is, fornicating, right? Having inappropriate relations before they even married, but getting into a relationship with a man, thinking that they're going to change this man, and the man already don't have respect for them, because the man know that, hey, that person is following the scriptures, and yet that man is sleeping with that person. I just got to call it like it is. Those are some of the strongholds that, so women, don't get caught up in that thing, because you see it in the church so much, and some of this is in this awakening, to where as though many would start calling themselves, they see a guy that they're interested in, and they see all the strongholds that this person is dealing with. Instead of letting the father deal with it, they call themselves trying to date the person and thinking that they're going to change the person while they're dating them and breaking the law, having intimacies with this person, and they're not married. And I want to make it clear, sex is not marriage. That's not biblical, like some of these predators are teaching. All right, let's get back to it. So, are there any examples, right, in the scriptures about demonic possessions? Now, we dealt with Tobit and Sarah. And when you think about what they had to deal with, right, depression, they had a strategy to deal with their depression. Both Tobit and Sarah, because I talked about them, touched on them earlier, but we want to touch on them now. Both Tobit and Sarah had a strategy for depression. And what does it mean to have a strategy? As you see here, the science and the art of military command exercise to meet the enemy in combat under advantageous conditions. So you have to have a strategy. You have to have something that you have practiced. When you see here, art of military command exercised. See, I'm prior military. And in the military, we have exercises for wartime situations. So that way, when a war or something should happen, we already know how to respond. That's part of the problem. Most within this awakening don't have a strategy because they don't have a prayer life. Most don't have a strategy because they don't have an assembly that they affiliate themselves with. And again, you may not have an assembly near you, but you can still find an assembly to associate with in terms of when I say that's in this awakening. But that's a whole nother conversation. So again, you have to have a strategy, family. If you don't have a strategy and you call yourself dealing with demonic forces, demonic spirits, you're going to deal with the same thing that happened. Yahweh Shai, I know, but I don't know who you are. I don't see any power, the Hebrew word kabod. I don't see any power in you. Not kabod, but ka. So excuse me. Kabod is glory. So again, you have to have a strategy. What is the strategy? What was the strategy that Tobit and Sarah used? Now, Tobit, you guys know the book of Tobit. Those that have read the Apocrypha, Tobit went blind. He was dealing with a lot of stuff with burying our brothers and sisters that would their bodies were lying all in the streets and so forth. But one day, on a feast day, he laid up under a tree and bird dung got in his eyes and blinded him. So that caused him to get depressed to the point that he insulted his own wife. Sarah, Tobit's future wife, had to deal with depression as well. And we'll get to that. But they had a strategy. What was their strategy? Both sought help beyond themselves. Let me say that again, family. When you are dealing with depression, when you're dealing with demonic forces, you have to humble yourself. You have to swallow your pride and say, you know what? I need to seek help beyond where I am. I know someone that is specialized in this area. Let me reach out to them. I know someone, let's just say if you're dealing with issues with your finances, reach out to someone that may specialize in finances. Don't try to fix it yourself, or don't try to go to Boney T, you know what I mean, who has all kinds of credit card schemes and everything, trying to give you advice on how to repair your credit and things like that. Don't try to take these shortcuts, because in the conscious community, there's so many people that call themselves teaching or supposed to have this way of repairing your credit. So again, seek help, right, beyond yourself. Go to someone that you know specializes in whatever area that you're dealing with, whether it's your car situation, whatever it may be. That's the key. Both sought help beyond themselves through prayer. And that's where you start right there. You start with prayer first. Start with prayer. So let's go to Tobit chapter 3, starting at verse 11. Then she prayed toward the window and said, "Blessed art thou." Now, this is so powerful here. This is dealing with Sarah. Sarah, she was dealing with a situation where she was married 7 times. 7 times. And each time when she went to go consummate her marriage, an evil spirit rose up and killed her husband. And the word got around on the streets, the gossip, the people start gossiping and talking about her as if she was the murderer. Even people that were supposed to be witnessing to her were contributing to the gossip. Doesn't that sound familiar, family? So it says here, then she prayed toward the window. See, family, you have to reposition yourself. When you're dealing with certain situations, especially when you're dealing with depression, you have to reposition yourself. When Elijah was sitting up under the tree, depressed, being suicidal, the Most High had to give him a word to what? Reposition himself. So then she prayed toward the window. She repositioned herself and said, "Blessed," and then began to speak life over her situation. "Blessed, Barak, art thou, O Yahweh, my Allahayim." Yahweh means he exists. My Allahayim, and thine holy and glorious name is blessed and honorable forever. Let all thy works praise thee forever. And now, O Yahweh, I set my eyes and my face towards thee. Now, see how she forcing herself. Sometimes you got to force yourself to birth up a praise. If the scripture says that Yah inhabits the praises of his people, the quickest way to resolving a situation is getting into praise. Praise. When Yah shows up, when his spirit shows up, guess what? He never leaves that place the same. When he shows up, he hear you calling, hear you crying out to him. He's going to respond to you. So then she prayed toward the window, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm preaching here, but I'm going here a little bit, and said, "Blessed art thou, O Yahweh, my Allahayim," made it personal, "and thine holy Quadash and glorious name is blessed and honorable, Kabad, forever, Awalam. Let all thy works praise Yada or Halalawaya, thee forever, Awalam. And now, O Yahweh, I set mine eyes and my face towards thee." See, she's encouraging herself here, family, and say, "Take me out of the earth." Apocrypha, right? That's we're dealing with the word apocrypha, which means to hide away. What she's saying, take me out of the earth. In other words, hide me away, that I may hear no more the reproach. In other words, she's saying, shelter me, put a hedge of protection around me, so I won't be able to hear what people are saying about me, that I may hear no more the reproach. Thou knowest, Yahweh, that I am pure from all sin with the man. She's making it clear, I have not been with any man, that she did everything according to his laws, his statutes, and his law, statutes, and his commandments. She's making it clear, I am pure from all sin with the man. But guess what? Church folks, you know, you guys know what I mean when I say church folks. Super bruise, dragging her reputation in these YouTube streets, in these social media streets, in her community, around her family. So she says, "Thou knowest, Yahweh, that I am pure from all sin with the man, and that I never," she didn't say I slipped up once or twice. She said, "I never polluted my name." Now we see polluted there's a difference between saying halal, which is worship and praise, versus halal, which means profane, means pollute. She said, I never polluted thy name, nor thy name of my father in the land of my captivity. In other words, even in being in captivity, see, we can't use being in this land of captivity as an excuse for still not making it a purpose in our heart to do the things of the Most High. Because many say, well, we're in the land of captivity, so that exempts us from obeying certain things. So it says here, I never polluted my name, nor the name of my father. In other words, never embarrassed her family. In the land of my captivity, I am the only daughter of my father. Neither hath any child to be his heir, neither any near kinsman, nor any son of his alive, to whom I may keep myself for a wife. My 7 husbands are already dead. And why should I live? But if it please not thee that I should die, command some regard to be had of me. She said, look, she's not going to take her life. She said she can't take her life. She's not going to embarrass her father. She's not going to put this embarrassment on her, on his parents, his father, her father and mother. But she's saying, hey, if she, if he see that, her time is up, you know what I mean? As you see here, it said, why should I live? She said, husbands are already dead, and why should I live? But if it please not thee that I should die, command some regard to be had of me. In other words, she's saying, if it's meant for me not to die, because she already had 7 husbands that died, she said, if it's not meant for me to die along with them, then okay, then change my situation. That's why it says here, it says, command some regard to be had of me. In other words, change my situation. I need help. And pity taken of me, that I hear no more reproach. Take me away from this situation, y'all. If it's meant for me to continue to live, I can't deal with this embarrassment no more. She's letting it all hang out. Come on, family. She's laying it all out. All right. So the prayers of both of them were heard before the majesty of the great Elohim. Said both Tobit and also Sarah, his future daughter-in-law, said that their prayers were heard. Do you know the angel took their prayers to the Father? I'm not going to go too deep in here, but it says here, and Raphael the angel was sent to heal them both. That is, to scale away the whiteness of Tobit's eyes and to give Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, for a wife to Tobias, the son of Tobit, and to bind Asmodeus, the evil spirit, because she belonged to Tobias by right of inheritance. The self same time came to Tobit home and entered into his house, and Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, came down from her upper chamber. Come on, family. Then when we go to chapter 6, verse 5, notice what it says here. So the young man did as the angel commanded him. Right? This is dealing with Tobias now. We're dealing with, he's already gone away from his father. He's with the angel traveling. Now the angel gave him some instructions on how to deal with a demonic forces, this evil spirit, pretty much an exorcist. So the young man did as the angel commanded him. And when they had roasted the fish, they did eat. Then they both went on their way till they drew near to Ecbatane. Verse 6, then the young man said to the angel, brother Azarias, to what use is the heart and liver and the gall of the fish? See here, Azarias, right? He's asking the question to the angel. Then the young man said to the angel, brother Azarias, to what use is the heart and the liver and the gall of the fish? Said, hey, what are you trying to get me to do with the heart of this fish, the liver of this fish, the gall of this fish? What are you trying to get me to do? And he said it to him, touching the heart and liver If a devil or an evil spirit trouble anyway, we must make a smoke thereof before the man or the woman, and the party shall be no more vexed. So the angel gave further instructions and explained an explanation of the purpose of the fish heart and the liver. And then when we go to verse 16 of the same chapter, and when thou shalt come into the marriage chamber, thou shalt take the ashes of perfume and shalt lay it upon some of the heart and some of the liver, and shall make a smoke with it. So now the angel is telling Tobias how they are going to cast out this demonic force that has been terrorizing this woman, and the devil shall smell it. Right, just like when we deal with the burnt offering, the purpose of the burnt offerings for the Most High to smell the smoke. And if he received that smoke, if it's a sweet smelling savor, then the Most High is pleased at the sacrifice. So here it says, if the devil smell this scent of this fish, these parts, and the devil shall smell it and flee away and never come again anymore. But when thou shalt come to her, rise up both of you and pray to Yahweh, which is merciful, who will have pity on you and save you. Fear not, for she is appointed unto thee from the beginning, and thou shalt preserve her, and she shall go with you. So in other words, he's saying she's the wife of thy youth. Look up Malachi chapter 2 and you'll understand. Moreover, I suppose that she shall bear thee children. Now, when Tobias had heard all these things, he loved her, and in his heart was effectually joined to her. So Tobias explains his fears and concerns to the angel. So the angel is telling them how to cast out this spirit, how they're going to cast out this evil spirit that's troubling his future bride. But Tobias has some concerns, like many of us will have concerns. Then the young man answered the angel, I have heard, brother Azarias, that this maid hath been given to 7 men who all died in the marriage chamber. And now I am the only son of my father, and I am afraid lest if I go in unto her, I die as the others before. For a wicked spirit loveth her, which hurteth nobody but those which come unto her. Wherefore I also fear lest I die and bring my father and my mother's life because of me to the grave with sorrow, for they have no other son to bury them. So in a nutshell, Tobias is just explaining to the angel some concerns that if he died, there's no one that's going to take care of his parents. So Tobias used his concerns about the death of his parents, right? To, actually his death, right? And his parents being of old age, his death and fears of his parents, and also of him, if something happened to him, to substantiate his fears. But guess what? Christ gave a warning and instructions to those who use death of loved ones to substantiate their fears and not following Yahweh's unconventional instructions, because he tended to give us some unconventional instructions. Here it is, Matthew chapter 8, verse 21. And another of his disciples said unto him, Adonai, suffer me first to go and bury my father. But Yahushua said unto him, follow me and let the dead bury the dead. Why did he tell him that? Because he knew that he wasn't going to return. He was using the death of his family, the death of his father, to go and not return. So Tobias' main concern was the death of the 7 previous husbands who were killed by a stalking spirit. That's right. It was a stalking spirit. So why is this important? Are there any, and we'll, I'm not going to get into that full details. So it's important to know this, though, again, that prayer, we have to start with prayer. Anyway, are there any other references of women marrying 7 men? That's right, because the book of Tobit, we see that, or Tobit rather, we see that Christ is dealing with this story. He's dealing with he got presented with this situation by the Sadducees. All right, but it says, his saying master Moses said, if a man die having no children, his brother shall marry his wife and raise up seed unto his brother. Now therefore, it says, now there were with us 7 brethren, and the first when he had married a wife deceased and having no issues, left his wife unto his brother. Likewise, the second also, the third unto the seventh. So we see that this situation is being brought up. And the last of it said, and last of all the women died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the seven? For they all had her. Notice what Christ says. Yahweh Shai answered and said unto them, ye do err, not knowing the scriptures nor the power of Yahweh. In other words, when we in the presence of the Father, the last thing we're going to be thinking about is who married who. But nevertheless, the point that I want to make is that, Christ is referring to this situation. And when you see brother, it's not meaning blood brethren. I could be a cousin, right? I want to make that clear. I could be a cousin. It could be someone, not just a cousin, but it also could be someone within the same tribe. Look up the word Ak. So is the book of Tobit promoting witchcraft? Because that's what the church, the Christian church, will use to try to justify that the book of Tobit should not be used. But guess what? It's not. It's not. It's not promoting witchcraft, because guess what? We have a situation where Christ paid taxes from the fish. Fish came ashore, right? He had his disciple take the coins out of his belly. And I'm not saying Tobit is Christ. I want to make that clear. But guess what? Use the fish. Anyway, are there any other scriptures that deals with someone being demon possessed? 1 Samuel chapter 16, starting at verse 14. But Rawak Yahweh, in other words, the Spirit of the Lord. See, that's the real name of the Holy Spirit. Rawak Yahweh. So this tells you it's still Yah. Yah is not divided into two spirits, but Rawak Yahweh, in other words, the Spirit of the Lord, departed from Sha'awal. Some of you guys would say Shawal, and Rawak Ra'ah, in other words, an evil spirit from Yahweh troubled him. See, the Most High removed his spirit and turned King Saul over to a reprobate mind. That's what happens when Yah removed his spirit. And Sha'awal, in other words, Saul's servant, said unto him, behold, now an evil spirit from Elohim troubleth thee. Verse 16. Let our Adonai Yah, in other words, Lord, now command thy servants which are before thee to seek out a man who is a cunning player on an harp, and it shall come to pass when the evil spirit from Elohim is upon thee, that he shall play with his hand, and thou shalt be well. So we see King Saul had an evil spirit. There's other examples I could give, but we see this all through the text. And his servants understood that they needed to seek help beyond King Saul. That's the point that I made earlier. Pray and seek help. It is important to remember again that not all mental problems are demons. And we're going to stop right here, family. We're going to stop right here. I know I gave you a lot of information here, but I just want to take the time out to really use this as a teachable moment, about this movie. And I think that even though there's some red flags that I mentioned to you about this movie, but overall, my final assessment of the movie is not a bad movie. But again, those some things that I saw in the movie that was very sketchy. Very sketchy. I didn't agree with whitewashing the grandmother. I didn't agree with emasculating the men. It was a Catholic priest who actually performed the exorcism, and then also the portrayal of the men when you did see the man, Omar Epps, right? And the other two men that were sitting on the bench. I didn't like how they portrayed those guys as well. I just didn't like it. To me, it was like promoting typical stereotypes. But anyway, outside of some of those things that caught my attention, red flags, overall, it's a good movie. I think that everyone should watch it, and it should trigger you to wanting to really understand that demonic forces is real. But I would encourage you guys, read. As a matter of fact, let me pull a link up. I'm going to drop this link for you guys to review. And you can see that demonic forces is real. That's the story there. That's the actual story of Latoya Ammons. And also I said I was going to drop a link about the the name. Let me drop this in here. Bear with me 1 second. All right, because I said I was going to drop this in for you guys to review. All right. Let's go to playlists. And I believe it's under the Hebrew. All right, let's see here. Hebrew basics. Okay, let's go to this playlist. Bear with me 1 second, family. Let me see here. All right, just trying to see which lesson it is. Let's go to lesson 2. What name should I use for the Father is the name of the lesson. Let me pause it here. Let me pause this video here. Let me see if this is the one. All right, yes. So it's this lesson here. I'm going to drop it in the comment section right now. It's part 2, and I encourage you guys to take a look at this lesson. Of course, part 1, but here's part 2. And I would say if you wanted a starting point, when I start discussing Christ's name and breaking that down, let's see here. I believe it starts at the 2-hour mark. All right, and I'm going to drop this inside the chat. Here we go. All right, there you have it, family. Really appreciate you guys for the love and support. I know this is a late night lesson here. I hope and pray that this helps you guys. All right, Roxy Fox, I posted the link. And so take a look at it, but take a look at part 1 as well. Matter of fact, I posted part 2, but I'm going to put part 1 in it here as well. All right, let me post it here. If this still part 1 focuses on the Father's name. Part 2, I focus on Christ's name, but I lead up into it, give you history of how the Hebrew languages were interpolated. All right. So the second link that I just posted here, that is actually part 1. The first link is actually part 2. All right. But those links will help you get started. And I believe the first link I copied it. When I copied it over, it should take you to the minute mark of when I began to talk about the name Jesus, as far as not Jesus, but how the name went from Yahweh Shai all the way over to the Greek. And then, of course, when we start dealing with the English transliteration. All right, family. That's all I have for tonight. I know that, again, this is a brief, straight to the point lesson. Hope and pray that you guys have a safe day tomorrow. And actually, today is my born day. So guess what, family? This is you guys got to hear me give you a word on my born days. So I thank the Most High for allowing me to see another year, that was not promised to me. So I thank Him. So again, really appreciate you guys for the love and support. So with that being said, in the words of Yahweh, these encouraging words that He gave to Moses for the children of Israel, He said to them in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, "Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, they will never have power over you again." Here's the kicker. The Most High will fight for you, but we have to hold our peace. Can't go back, can't stay here. And guess what, family? We have to keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.